When people rebel, 1857 and after, Nawab loses their power. Then we have peasants and the sepoys, responses of the reforms. Okay, we'll see all these things, these are the causes. Okay, so Nawab lose their powers. I think you have learned in the second chapter. Like peasants and the sepoys, you have learned in the third chapter. Response to the reforms in the second chapter you've learned. So I don't think I have to explain this once more. Okay, so I'll explain this last part. Response to the reforms. Laws were passed to stop the practice of sati and encourage the remarriage of widows, an anti-social threat of the Britishers to Indians, which was for good. Okay, it was for good because these practices were not good. Okay, so after 1830, the companies allowed the Christian missionaries to function freely in the domain and even on land and property. This was not good. So in 1850, the new law was passed to property. This law allowed an Indian who had converted into Christianity to inherit the property of his ancestors. Okay, this law was good. Many Indians feel that the British was destroying their religion, social custom, and the traditional way of life. Now, what did they do? Let's see. They did all these things. You will just learn, okay, these things. In your book only it's given. Now, the mutiny becomes popular. From Meerut to Delhi, we'll learn this. We'll learn the rebellion speeds. Okay. So through the struggle, a large number of people participated. They had a common enemy, okay, and rise up against the same enemy at the same time. Such a situation developed in the northern parts of India in 1857. Hundreds of years of conquest and administration, the English East India Company faced a massive rebellion at the start of May 1857 and threatened the company's very presence in India. Sepoys mutinied in different places, beginning from the Meerut, and a large number of people from different sections of the society rose up in the rebellion. Some of the regard 1970 traditionally host. Some of it regard to the biggest army resistance in the colonialism in the whole world. From Meerut to Delhi on 29th 1857, a young soldier Mangal Pandey hanged to death. Okay. So some days after, in Barakpur, some days later, some sepoys in the regiment refused to use it army drill using the new cartridges. Okay, in field drill, a rumor was spread that this was made up of a grease of grease means the oil of cow and pig. So cow was it was written in the Hindu scripture that do not kill a cow. Okay, or do not eat a cow, and it was written in the Muslim scriptures that do not eat a pig. Okay, so therefore, while using these Enfield rifles, these soldiers, the sepoys, had to tear off the rifles. So that means they're touching the grease that was made of cows and pigs. So both the Muslims and Hindus were angry with that and they started to rebel. Now, 85 sepoys dismissed their services and sentenced to 10 years jail for disobeying their officers. Sorry. Okay, now on 10th May, the soldiers marched to the jail of Meerut and released the imprisoned sepoys. They attacked and killed the British officers. They captured the guns and the ammunition and set to fire the buildings and the properties of the British and decided war on the Firangis. Firangis means the British. Okay, the outsiders. So, but who would rule the land instead? The soldier had an answer to this question. The Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar. Okay, so as it was earlier ruling, as Bahadur Shah Zafar had to give up his rule, he will rule. Okay, but the aging empire had to accept this demand. He wrote the letters to the chiefs and the rulers of the country to come for. If Bahadur Shah Zafar was young, then only it could have been a success. But then he was old and aged, and the Mughal did not have any what to say. They did not have any energy to rule anymore. Okay, as their early ancestors. Okay, now let's just see what happened. So the single step taken by Bahadur Shah Zafar had great implications. So the Mughal dynasty had ruled over a large part of the country. Most small rulers and chieftains controlled the different areas on the behalf of the Mughal rule. Threatened by the expansion of the British rule, many of them felt that the Mughal emperor could rule again. they too could be able to rule their own territories once more under the Mughal authority. The British did not expect this to happen. They thought the disturbance caused by the issue of the cartridges would die down, but Bahadur Shah's decision to bless the rebellion changed the entire situation dramatically. Often, when people see an alternative possibility, they feel inspired and enthusiastic. This gives them the courage, hope, and confidence to act. The rebellion spread. After the British were routed from Delhi, there were no uprising almost for a week. It took that time, much time for the news to travel. Then a spurt of mutinies began. So from Delhi, a spurt of mutinies began. Regiment after regiment mutinied, okay? Such as rural points of Delhi, Kanpur and Lucknow. People of the towns and villages rose up in rebellion and rallied among their local leaders. Okay, economic threats was also there. Indigo was being grown. Okay, it was a threat to them. And then, doctrine of lapse was there. So political threat was also there. And immediate cause was also there. Just now I told you about the infield refills, and social cause I also told you that this English also made several reforms that such as widow remarriage and abolishing the practice of sati uh, and abolishing child marriages, which was prevalent in the Hindu society. Not good practices, but then still, people, how do people understand? Illiterate people will not understand, right? So, mm, mm, so what happened? Uh, so what happened? They rose in revolt. And a governor under the Emperor Shah Bahadur Shah Zafar in Lucknow, British Kadira, son of the British of Nawab Wajid Ali Khan, okay, Begum Hazrat Mahal, okay, Rani Lakshmi Bai in Jhansi. The British were outnumbered by the rebel forces. The whole India rose in revolt. And what were the British outsiders? They couldn't, like, they were defeated in a number of battles. This convinced the people that the rule of British had collapsed for good and gave them confidence to take the plunge and join the rebellion. A situation to widespread popular rebellion developed in the region of Awadh in particular. On 6th August 1857, we find a telegram of the doomed Colonel Tyler on his commander-in-chief expressing the fear felt by the British. Our men are cowed by the numbers opposed to them and endless fighting. Every village is held against us. The zamindars have rise to oppose us. Many new leaders came up. For example, Ahmad Darsan, the Maulavi from Faizabad. Okay, the Ghazis. Okay, Bakht Khan. Okay, Kulwar Singh. Okay, now the company fight backs, anti. So now new laws were passed so the rebels could be convicted with ease. Okay, storm centers and then moved to the storm centers of revolt. Delhi was recaptured from the rebel forces in September 1857. The last Mughal Empire, Bahadur Shah Zafar, was tried in the court and sentenced to life imprisonment. His sons were shot dead before his eyes. He and his wife Begum Jannat Mahal were sent to the prison in Rangoon in October 1858. Bahadur Shah Zafar died in the Rangoon jail in November 1862. Okay, the recapture of Delhi. However, it did not mean that the rebellion died down after that. People still continued to resist and battle the British. The Britishers had to fight for 2 years to suppress the massive forces. Lucknow was taken down in 1858. Rani Lakshmibai was defeated and killed in 1858. Tantia Tope escaped to the jungles of central India and continued a guerrilla war with the support of many tribal and peasant leaders. He was captured, tried, and killed in April 59. Just as the victories against the British had earlier encouragement and rebel, the defeat of the rebel forces also took encouraged decisions. The British also tried their best to win back the loyalty of the people. They announced rewards for the loyal landholders would be allowed to continue their traditional rights. Okay, and they also said that if the rebellions had not killed any white people, they would remain safe and their rights and claims of the land would not be denied. Nevertheless, hundreds of sepoys, rebels, nawabs, and rajas were tried and hanged. Aftermath. Now the British Parliament this week even widows the changes. Okay, the British Parliament acts passed a new act. Okay, appointed Indians as for the British cabinets. All ruling chiefs. All ruling chiefs of the countries that assured that the territory would be never annexed. But then tribute was to be paid. and so it was declared that the provision of the Indian soldiers would be reduced and the number of European soldiers would be increased. Okay, and then the land and the property of the Muslim was confiscated on a large scale, and they were treated with suspicion and hostility. The British believed that they were responsible for the rebellion in a big way. The British decided the country to respect the customary religions and social practices of the people of India. Policies were made to protect landlords, zamindars, and a new phase of history began after that. Okay, this was the video.